President John F. Kennedy was notorious for being a bit of a philanderer, most famously with Marilyn Monroe. In 2016, a letter supposedly written by the former president went up for auction. It was addressed to the artist Mary Pinchot Meyer, a family friend with whom Kennedy may have been having an affair. Kennedy wrote the letter, which was never sent, in 1963, just before he was shot and killed while riding in a presidential motorcade in Dallas, Texas. Meyer and Kennedy reportedly met when Kennedy's brother Robert sold his house to a friend of Meyer's. Meyer was murdered in 1964, at which point her brother-in-law, Washington Post editor Benjamin Bradley, became aware of his sister-in-law's diary, which apparently contained details about her affair with the president. When he went to Meyer's house to retrieve the diary, CIA Director James Angleton was already sawing off the door's locks to get inside. Meyer's ex-husband, Cord Meyer, was also a CIA official. The diary was taken and its contents were never made public. It's thought that it was ultimately destroyed. Meyer herself was shot twice while walking in Georgetown, and her death remains a mystery. A man named Ray Crump Jr. was found in the woods shortly after the killing with wet clothes and an injured hand. He was arrested for the murder, but was eventually acquitted due to lack of evidence. Neither the murder weapon nor the murderer ever came to light. At the time of her death, it wasn't common knowledge that Meyer was having an affair with Kennedy, nor that her ex-husband was in the CIA. Writer C. David Heyman later claimed that while Meyer's ex-husband was dying, he'd said that the same people who killed Kennedy had killed Mary. Another writer, Leo Danmore, claimed that the suspect Ray Crump Jr., who was black, could have easily been blamed for the murder and that Meyer was really killed by a professional hitman, possibly someone connected to the CIA. Another interesting theory was described by Robert Greenfield, biographer of psychologist and LSD guru Timothy Leary. Leary is said to have met Meyer multiple times and to have supplied her with psychedelic drugs. Greenfield says that Meyer wanted Leary to show her how to lead a LSD therapy session so that she could, quote, turn on a close friend. This friend was said to be, quote, a very important man as well as a public figure. Upon hearing about her death, the psychologist jumped to the conclusion that, quote, she had been killed for giving LSD to the president and then recording this information in her diary. However, Greenfield is quick to admit that there is no proof that Meyer and the president used LSD together. Kennedy's letter to Meyer was sold by RR Auction of Boston, Massachusetts. RR Auction Executive Vice President Robert Livingston noted that Kennedy's secretary, Evelyn Lincoln, had identified Meyer as the intended recipient. The letter came to RR Auction from the estate of Bob White, a man who had bought several Kennedy papers and artifacts from Lincoln. The handwritten letter read in part, "Why don't you leave suburbia for once? Come and see me, either here or at the Cape next week or in Boston the 19th. I know it is unwise, irrational, and that you may hate it. On the other hand, you may not, and I will love it." RR Auction expected the letter to sell for at least $30,000. As reported by the Boston Globe, it went for much more, $88,970 to an anonymous buyer. According to Just Collecting, Kennedy's letters to Meyer are among the most valuable Kennedy memorabilia ever sold. Kennedy was apparently an avid writer of love letters. Among his other personal items that sold for a great deal are his love letters to Swedish aristocrat Gunilla von Post, whom he met just before marrying Jacqueline Bouvier, and whom he kept seeing until he and Jackie were expecting their first child. These letters sold in 2010 for $115,537. During World War II, Kennedy met the married Danish journalist Inga Arvad when she shared an apartment with his sister Catherine.
I borrowed him for a week, a beautiful week, that no one can take away from me.
Arvad was a suspected Nazi spy and was under surveillance by the U.S. government during their affair. Kennedy's letters to Arvad sold for $144,000 in 2007. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about government conspiracies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.